This is one of those things that whether you're going through a breakup or divorce or not, just life in general, this is something that easily gets overlooked. And it's fresh in my mind right now because we are going through something right now in our home, me and my mom and my aunt. And what I'm talking about could literally cost you money. Okay. It could really, really cost you money. And it has happened in our family. I'm talking about insurance. This is the Joy Act, where finding joy beyond divorce begins with your understanding that the depth of your heartache shows the depth of your capacity for joy. I'm Dr. Lisa Summerour, and together we'll use accountability, alignment, communication, and trust to transform your journey. It's time to step into the Joy Act. I work with accomplished women. Many of them are thriving. They have extremely successful careers. But silently, they are struggling with the process or the aftermath of going through a breakup or a divorce. What I do is help them go from pain to power using my signature program, A.A.C.T. Now, today, I'm going to be talking about something that is sort of unspoken. Very often, we go through transitions in our lives and we think we're being really organized and we're picking up all of the things that we need to take care of. I have notes all over the place. So if you see me looking, it's because I have notes everywhere. I'm going to be talking about a few different types of insurance. And this is to plant the seed for you so that you go and figure out what you need specifically and get the professional help that you need if you think you need it. I'm not an insurance agent or an attorney or a financial person or an investment manager. I'm none of those things. I am somebody who, very much like you, knows that these are things that need to be taken care of. And very often we don't have the wherewithal to do it until there's some issue that's pressing. We've done a decent job, like I'm a little bit more proactive now, but this was something that we could not have planned for that happened in my family. So let me start with life insurance, because like I said, this one is something that is pressing. So I want to talk to you about, after your divorce, 3 reasons that you might need life insurance, because everybody doesn't feel like they need it. And I'm one of those people. And my father used to sell life insurance many, 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 many moons ago. And I've had this conversation with my mom, with some of my other aunts about some of the reasons that you don't need it. So if you, these are the reasons you might need it. I'm going to start with those first. If you have children who are dependent on you and they rely on your income, then that's one of the reasons that you might want to have or look into having life insurance. Because if something happens to you, that policy becomes their safety net. If you want to leave a legacy, right? So if you intentionally want to leave a legacy or just reduce the financial burden of people in your life or somebody in your life, from the funeral cost to any remaining debt that might be left behind, or anything that you can think of like that, life insurance will protect people from that, from having to deal with that. So you want to leave enough money for them to take care of loose ends and basically your final things. If you are now the sole or primary provider for anybody and you have a life insurance policy, that is a reason you may want to keep that policy. Because if the household shifted from a dual income to a single income, then this coverage might matter for you. Okay, so think about those, and there may be some other reasons you want to keep it. Now, I want to talk about a couple of reasons that you might not need it. You might not need it. If nobody is financially dependent on you anymore, you need to figure out, do you need insurance? So if your kids are grown, you are financially independent, your kids are financially independent, then life insurance for you might not be essential. Okay. If you've built up assets and savings that are going to cover your needs, and by needs, I mean your retirement, your property, your investments, those things may serve the purpose of taking care of all of your final arrangements, your funeral arrangements. What do you want to have done? Did you want to donate money to some organization, cause, or person? If you have finances in place to handle all of that, then you may not need to have a life insurance policy. If the premiums are draining and the policy doesn't fit your life anymore. So if you financially cannot afford to continue to maintain the monthly premium, you really need to figure out, does this make sense for me to have this policy? Now, there may be other things that you have to look at if that's the case, because you got the policy for a reason. Is that reason still relevant? Or are you looking now going, when I got this policy, I didn't really have money put away that would cover my funeral arrangements, but now I do. Or when I got the policy, I had young children that I was going to be responsible for, and now your kids are grown and on their own. And so you don't need to have an insurance policy to make sure they're okay. So again, these are things that you can talk to an insurance agent about, or talk to your financial advisor, or maybe your attorney, or some family members or friends who have already gone through this, and have this conversation. You can Google and look up so much information right now. If you have an insurance policy, or just go to a website of an insurance company and read all of their information to find out what makes sense for you, so you can gather as much information as possible. Now, you've built a successful career, checked all the right boxes, but after divorce, why does it feel like everything is falling apart? Searching for answers online at 2 a.m., it will not bring you peace. Neither will pretending you're fine when inside you're anything but. I remember those feelings, the exhaustion, the anxiety, and the frustration from feeling stuck. It seemed like no matter what I did, I could not figure out a way to move past the pain. If you are dealing with a divorce while you're also managing your career, I've been there. Things didn't get better for me until I stopped waiting for time to heal me, and I took control of my own healing. And that's how this came about. That's why I designed the 4 essential steps to creating joy after a difficult divorce. It's for accomplished women just like you who are ready to move forward. It's time to break the cycle. Imagine waking up feeling lighter, knowing exactly what to do next, and rediscovering your joy, not just surviving, but thriving. In this masterclass, you'll learn the biggest mistakes that keep you stuck in divorce pain, why traditional recovery methods don't always work for high-achieving women, and the 4 essential steps to rebuilding your confidence and joy. Give yourself permission to stop reliving the past and start designing the future you deserve. Register today. If you have a policy and you plan on keeping the policy after your divorce or your breakup, because some people they haven't gotten married, but they still have life insurance policies. You want to update your beneficiaries, and you want to do that immediately, especially if you were on your ex's policy or your ex is on yours. Now, obviously, you can't make them change anything. You definitely want to make sure, if you don't want your ex to stay the beneficiary on your policy, make sure you do what you need to do to update that. Check the ownership and access of the policy as well. Do you own the policy, or do you now realize that there's a life insurance policy that your ex owns, but it's on you? You understand what I'm saying? So you want to make sure you check that. Who is actually paying the premiums on that policy? Review any legal mandates. Is it court ordered for this thing to remain in place because of the children? So is this something that your attorney would probably be able to help you with, because it's going to be written up in your divorce papers or anything having to do with alimony or child support. If that is the case, then that may dictate what you can or cannot do with that policy. So again, I am going to spend this time with you right now planting seeds. Take notes, go back and listen to this or watch this again, because if you're going through a divorce or you've already gone through one and this isn't stuff you've thought of, you want to start looking into this now and make sure you take care of it. You want to update your personal contact information, okay? We just went through this with my aunt. My aunt is 85 years old. We had to bring her to come live with us under really dire circumstances. She was in a very bad physical situation in terms of her living conditions. The person who was responsible for taking care of her had really dropped the ball. We needed to get her into the hospital. So she was there for 5 days before we could fly her here. She's had medical care, physical therapy. She's doing so much better after being with us just about 2 months or so. But we were really concerned that we didn't know if she was going to make it this far. I mean, that's how scary this was. And so in order to make sure we could get a handle on her finances, find out what was going on with all of her bills, we couldn't find credit cards. We couldn't find ID at first. We still don't know where her phone is. So all of this stuff is going on. and we realize we need to get a power of attorney or we're not going to be able to take care of anything. And we also need to get an advanced healthcare directive. So I want you to write down power of attorney and advanced healthcare directive. And some people will call it a healthcare power of attorney. What it basically is if something happens to you or a loved one, they have designated who has the right to their medical information and who has the right to make decisions for them if they're not able to make medical decisions, healthcare decisions for themselves. And the power of attorney does the same thing, and it can include everything from banking accounts and checking accounts to what to do with real estate property to what to do with trust funds. You really want to make sure that if when you get this, and I'm not going to say if because I'm dealing with people, most of them are of a certain age, and we really need to be thinking about this. And even if you're not ready to do it for yourself, if you have parents, aunts, and uncles, elders in your family, this is a conversation you need to have with them to make sure this is done. Now, with my aunt, we were sort of dealing with a couple of things. Cognitively, she's in and out. There's actually a term for it. I can't think of it right now. But she's in and out with sometimes days she's clear as a bell and you can have these conversations with her. And then you'll realize a little later in the day or the next day, things are blurry or fuzzy for her. She doesn't remember everything. Perfectly normal for someone at 85 who's just gone through the experience that she's gone through, right? But that could create some challenges. Fortunately, we were able to do a power of attorney. She was able to read it and sign it. We were able to get an advanced healthcare directive. And because of that, we were able to manage most of her finances, but we've gotten held up with her life insurance policy. We were able to do a lot of what I just shared with you. So one of the other things you want to do, personal contact information, personal information. You want to make sure that if your mailing address is changing, the life insurance policy, all of your insurance policies have them. The contact update is for every insurance policy that I'm going to talk about. Make sure that they have the correct mailing address for you. If your email is changing, make sure they have the update, your telephone number. If you had a joint bank account and that's where the payments were coming from, and now you're getting an individual account, you want to make sure that your automatic payments you want to make sure that your automatic payments are transferred over to your current account. Because what you don't want to do is have your insurance policy or any of your insurance policies lapse and you be without car insurance, or you're without your homeowner's insurance, or you are without your life insurance, something that you plan on keeping that you've been paying into, and now all of a sudden it's lapsed and you no longer have a policy. You lose all the money that you have invested in it already, and you don't get the cash value of the policy that you would normally get if you closed it. And this is sort of what we're dealing with right now. We haven't lapsed on the payments, but because they don't want to release the funds and honor the cancellation, we're just dealing with basically a quagmire of crap right now. Okay, I'm going to put it like that. So review your legal mandates, update the personal information. Did I forget anything in the personal information? Yeah. Make sure you do that personal information because that could really get you. You won't be able to get notifications and you just don't think about going into your life insurance policy. A lot of people are afraid to even talk about a life insurance policy. I've heard people say things like, well, I don't want to talk about a life insurance policy because then it's like I'm planning to die. And then no, getting life insurance is not the thing that's going to kill you. It's not. It isn't. Updating your contact. Okay. You may be asked, this is your name change. If you are changing your name after your divorce and you have a life insurance policy, you are going to want to update your name information. Now that is usually going to require some sort of legal document. You're probably going to need a copy of your divorce decree to get that done. But just make sure if you're still in the process, the divorce isn't finalized yet, make a note. Or maybe it is finalized and you don't have enough copies. Make sure you get the copies. Make a note somewhere on your calendar to remind yourself this needs to be done. I need to change my name on everything. And so I'm going to need copies to do that. So that's what you can do if you're going to keep the policy. If you're planning on closing or canceling the policy, here are some things you want to check on, and you should be able to call your insurance company and find out. If you're doing this for somebody else, make sure you have all of the paperwork that you need in order for them in advance. So make sure you have a legit power of attorney, that the document that they have signed. If they are still with it, have them call in if this is their insurance policy that you're calling about. And if not, make sure you get everything on the up and up and done as quickly as possible, because what we're dealing with right now is they are challenging whether my aunt was cognizant enough to sign her power of attorney. And so I have to find this term here, because I really want to share this term with you because it's a good one to know. Okay, here it is. It is intermittent cognitive ability, or fluctuating cognitive performance. Fluctuating cognitive performance. What that means is sometimes they might be with it. Like, she was perfectly fine and aware. We have a video of her literally reading her power of attorney and getting the pen. My mother pointed to where she needed to put the dates and everything on there, because it was slightly different on the power of attorney than it was on the advanced healthcare directive. But you see her with the pen writing and you see her signing her name. And so we know she was lucid and aware and understood what she was signing when she signed it. Does that mean 2 hours later, she's not asking us questions that were like, yeah, we talked about that already? No, it doesn't. But that's what this means, fluctuating cognitive performance. So I'm telling you this, not because you may be going through it as you're dealing with your divorce, because this information is for you right now. But if you have an elderly parent or family member that you're going to need to have these conversations with, I want you to be aware of some of this language. So back to you. Let me get back to my notes for you. There we go. Okay, so if you're going to cancel, ask yourself, if I cancel this policy, is it going to hurt my children financially? Are these assets or something that they really do need, and me canceling that is going to cause some duress for them? Can you qualify for a new policy? And that might be health related or financially related. In other words, maybe you have a policy and you've had additional health issues happen since that policy was in effect. And if you cancel it and go to open a new policy, you could hear something like, oh, we don't do this with somebody with pre-existing conditions. So this is why it's good to talk to a professional who has an in-depth knowledge about life insurance policies and those sorts of things, so you make sure you get what you need. This is also something for your healthcare insurance that you may want to find out about. The other thing, does the policy have a cash value, or are there any tax consequences that are going to be associated with you canceling the policy? So we had no idea that my aunt's little $10,000 policy had a cash value, right? Somehow we figured out how long she had been paying on it. We determined it was close to 15 years when she opened this policy. And at the time, she's paying $61 a month. So we're assuming that's probably gone up a little bit, maybe every couple of years. But it's quite possible that my aunt has put somewhere around $11,000 she's paid on a $10,000 life insurance policy. Our only reason for canceling the policy is, one, she doesn't need it. She has enough money set aside. We've had the conversation with her for years. We know she wants to be cremated, and we know what that's going to cost. So we know that she has enough money coming in and enough money in her account to set aside so that that's taken care of. So the life insurance policy is a $61 a month expense that basically she just doesn't need. And so that was our only reason for canceling it. When we called and found out that there was a payout value because of the value of the policy, and it's somewhere around $4,500, this is what you want to find out. Depending on how long you've been paying on this, you could have money coming back. If it's a fairly new policy, you may not have anything coming back. And I can tell you another story. All my little family insurance stories are popping up. When my dad, Billy, died, I call him my biological dad because I was raised by my other dad, but I was still a good relationship with both. But when he died, he had a life insurance policy that hadn't matured. It wasn't a year old. So it was a $10,000 policy, but the value of it wasn't $10,000. So I think We ended up getting about $600 back from this policy because it was a percentage of whatever he had paid in. So maybe it was, I don't know how long he had it, but it wasn't matured yet. And so these are things that you want to know. Get that policy and take the time to read through it. Highlight what you need to highlight so you can really understand what's going on. So I've started with the life insurance policy for a couple of reasons. One, I'm living it right now. Two, this is the one people are least likely to want to talk about. So I figure I'll get it out of the way at the top of the podcast today. And I think I covered everything. If you're going to cancel, do not cancel while you're frustrated. Okay, don't do anything while you're frustrated. It's just generally not a good idea. Cancel with a strategy. Understand why you're canceling and make sure it really makes sense, because once you cancel it, you can't undo it. And get help if you need it. If you're not sure, figure out who you can talk to. And if you talk to one insurance company, because you're now thinking about getting a life insurance policy, talk to a couple so you can compare them. Okay. So if you have elders, while you're going through all this, I'm going to repeat this again. If you have elders in your family, now is the time for you to get them together and have these conversations. If you have adult children and you're getting ready to cancel a life insurance policy that they thought they were going to get, if you passed away, it probably would be a good idea for you to let them know, getting rid of the policy because I don't need it. This is where my funds are for all of my afterlife expenses so that they know what they need. And this is a good time. I'm going to add this in as a bonus. This is a good time if you do have adult children. Put one of your kids on your bank account. If that's your relationship and you can do it, I'm aware that that's not everybody's situation. But if you can get somebody else on your bank account so they have access to that account when you do pass, it's going to be a lot easier. Get your will done. I just stepped out of insurance because this is huge. Make sure in that durable power of attorney, you explain who you want to handle certain things, but don't think that that replaces a will. It still may be a very good idea. Check with your legal advisor. Still may be a very good idea for you to get a will so you could go into real detail about who is getting what, who you're leaving what, and who's going to be your executor of your estate when you go. All right. But having someone on your checking account, because they're also on the account as part, dual owner of the account, they have immediate access all the time. They don't have to worry about presenting the bank with anything to get access to those funds. You can also do that with your property. Put somebody else on your deed, on your mortgage, so that when you do go, it leaves it. I'm not going to get too deep into this because this is not my area of expertise. I'm telling you things that my family has done. You want to talk to an advisor, an attorney, somebody, and make sure that you get the information that's right for you. So I talked about the elders. You don't want to wait for the crisis to happen before you take care of a lot of this stuff. Now, you are also going to look at your automobile insurance. Yeah. You're going to look at your renter's insurance or your homeowner's insurance policy. One of my sisters just told me just this morning that they were changing their homeowner's insurance. And they realized that they have been paying homeowners insurance through two different insurance companies to their mortgage company, because they changed insurance company, but somehow in the communication, I think the other thought they were going to do it and the spouse thought, that thing happened. And so nobody canceled the original one. And you would think that the mortgage company would be getting checks from two different homeowner insurance companies, that they would call them and go, hey, you're double paying us. Nobody said anything. So for 5 months, so they're going to get they're going to get a little bit of a refund, I think, for this month, but I think the other months are gone. I don't know that you're going to get one of them to say, well, you didn't need us, so we're going to send you that money back. Lesson learned. So what are the other insurances that you might have? Look at your medical insurance. What is your medical insurance? Is it medical insurance that you get from your employer, or were you on your ex's or your current spouse or whoever you're separated from? Were you on their insurance policy through their employer? These are really important things to know. And it might be something that you can negotiate in the divorce settlement. If you have children, whose medical insurance are the children on? So again, these are all those insurance things that you could forget to deal with, but you want to make sure that you have presence of mind to deal with these things when the time is right, and sooner is better than later. You don't want something to happen with one of your children and realize, wait a minute, we didn't take into account whose insurance they were going to be on, and we both assumed the other one was going to have them and we dropped it. Because you can talk about whose policy makes more sense. One of them just may be a better policy, right? And are you going to split the cost of the insurance, or are you going to take turns paying it every other month? Or is one of you have the children or your child on your insurance policy and the other one has something else that they cover, that creates a balance for that. So look at that not just for yourself, but for your children as well. Okay? If you are staying in the home, all of these things, you want to really look at whose name is on everything. Whose name is on everything. So I've talked about the life insurance. We've talked a little bit about your health care benefits. We've talked about your homeowner's insurance. What about your automobile? And I know I had some notes here on that. What about your automobile? Do you have separate policies for your separate cars? Were you both on one insurance policy? Did you have your home and auto insurance policies combined? And now you're going to sell the house. You're both moving into your own place. So does that mean renter's insurance? Do you need new homeowner's insurance? And what happens to the automobile insurance? So you want to make sure that you take care of your automobile insurance sooner rather than later, so that you're not driving uninsured. If you're if you just made me think of something, the relationship that I got out of, they had signed me up for one of those car wash, those monthly car wash things. And I just thought it was hysterical that in the midst of all of this happening and them feigning like they were so distraught, they had the presence of mind to cancel my car wash membership. So, it's funny the things that we do think of and the things that just kind of slip our mind. So don't let too many things slip your mind. You'd be okay with the car wash. A couple of months of still paying for your ex's car wash, you'd probably be okay. But you definitely don't want to assume that the car insurance is going to continue the way it has been if it wasn't something you were paying. So make sure you do that. And again, this is another place where you want to update. You want to update your name if your name has changed, so that the policy, your automobile registration, all of those things are coming to the right address. They're associated with your new address, and they have your current name on them, right? And they're up to date for where you are, because you could move into another area and your insurance could drop. Or you could bundle it with your renter's insurance policy or your homeowner's insurance wherever you're going to be living next, and you may notice a change in your insurance policy. So keep those things in mind. Were any of your kids who are driving age, whose policy were they on? And whose policy will they be on moving forward? Okay, so that's another thing just popped into my head. If you moved out of the home, are your belongings covered? So think about this too, because when you get your homeowner's insurance, you can get riders or whatever that increase the policy based on any belongings. Do you have jewelry? Do you have family heirlooms? Do you have antiques? Do you have a business at your home address that needs to have a different kind of insurance or to be included on your homeowner's policy? And if you stayed, is your ex removed from the policy? Okay. And if they had any things that were additional things on the policy, remember to go to your policy, go to your insurance agent and have those things removed from your policy. Okay. So these are just a lot of the things, or many of the things that it was just laid on me today. I decided today I'm doing this podcast on this. Umbrella policies, check liability exposure, especially if you own property or different assets. Do you own a boat? I live in Southern California. My dad wanted to move here because my dad wanted to move here. My sisters were out here with their kids, so the grandkids were here, but he had a sailboat and he definitely wanted to live somewhere when they left the East Coast. He definitely wanted to live someplace where he could have his sailboat, right? And so, do you have a boat? Do you have other vehicles? Do you have rental property or investment properties that you share that you need to check on who's going to own what and what's the insurance like there? So when you hear the word insurance now, I want all of these things to pop into your head so that you can make sure you are taking care of them. I don't think I have forgotten anything. And I guess at this point, I kind of want to thank my Aunt Jean because if this situation hadn't happened with her, I don't know that this would have popped into my head at this point. And thinking about it and prepping for this, I realized how important this is and how our day to day is really impacted by our insurance. I want to share something else with you too. The Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, whatever it is that you call it. If you have gone through a divorce and you were on your ex's policy and your income has now drastically decreased, or you're finding yourself on unemployment, do look into your state's affordable health care, because you may be able to get your health care at a really reduced rate and you aren't aware of it because now you're single and your income has changed. So look into that as well. So don't go to necessarily directly to some of the major insurance companies that you might normally do. Go to your state's website and look it up. It's slightly different names in every state. Here, I think it's called Covered California. In Illinois, it had a slightly different name. So you want to make sure that that's what it is and double check, because there are some, I'm not going to call them imposters, but there are some sites that will mimic this and they're not this. Okay. And look at that, because you really could get some really discounted insurance rates from what your ex or you had been paying previously. And depending on what's going on with your income, you may be paying as little as $35 for medical insurance, or it could be zero. It's possible. So check into all of those things as well, especially if you have children and you're going to be the primary care owner. And whatever the situation is, maybe your ex is not working, or maybe you were the primary caretaker and your ex now has, is going to be taking care of the insurance. Let them know about this too. I know you may not have that kind of relationship, but if you do, that would be a nice gift to give them. So I just want to thank you. I hope this has been helpful. I want you to put in the comments, what have you heard from this episode that you were like, I didn't think about that? Or what was your experience dealing with the various types of insurance as you were going through your divorce or after your divorce? And if you found something in here that you're like, I need to take care of that and I need to make some phone calls, come back here and let me know what that was. Share what worked for you and what you did and how that helped you. I'd love to hear. So look, thank you. This is The Joy Act. I'm Dr. Lisa Summerour, and I will see you on the next episode. In the meantime, act in joy.